The story unfolds during a rare and dangerous supermoon event when the full moon is at its closest point to Earth. Scientists explain that this phenomenon causes rapid harmful mutations in human DNA triggered by moonlight exposure. Unlike previous years, this time the mutations are violent and uncontrollable, turning people into aggressive monstrous beings known as year oneers. Authorities issue strict curfews and lockdowns, urging citizens to stay indoors and avoid moonlight at all costs. Dr. James Aranda and his specialized global rapid response team, including molecular biologist Wesley Marshall, behavior expert Amy Chen, and seconding command Evan Radcliffe, are at the forefront of developing a solution. Their hope lies in a newly developed protective liquid called moonscreen, designed to act as a barrier between the moonlight and human DNA, potentially blocking or reversing the mutations. With emergency services suspended for the night, the team is locked down in a secure research facility, working frantically to test and improve the formula before the full moon rises. Amid this chaos, Wesley struggles with personal stakes. His family, including his niece Emma and sister Lucy, are sheltered in their fortified home, protected by barricades and armed with pepper spray and firearms. Wesley is torn between his duty to help stop the outbreak and his desire to stay with his family. His niece Emma repeatedly practices affirmations about strength and survival, highlighting the emotional strain on those left behind. Elsewhere, society is unraveling. Civilians and ex-military personnel alike are preparing to fight for survival in a world now plunged into darkness and terror. Wesley's brother Cody exemplifies the divide between military readiness and civilian vulnerability, warning that the situation will devolve into every man for himself. People fortify their homes, gather supplies, and steel themselves for the long night ahead. The tension escalates as the moonlight begins to touch the Earth's surface and the first wave of year oneers emerges. These infected individuals exhibit uncontrollable aggression and insatiable cravings, attacking anyone caught outside. The mutations trigger a compulsion akin to addiction, driving them to hunt relentlessly under the moon's glow. Inside the research facility, the team races against time to administer moonscreen to test subjects exposed to the mutating effects. They monitor DNA changes and behavioral responses closely, hoping to find a breakthrough. Among the subjects is Miles, one of the infected, who symbolizes the tragic transformation victims undergo, addicted to the mutation and unable to resist its pull. The facility's lockdown is strict and every precaution is taken to prevent further spread. As the night deepens, the personal and scientific stakes converge. Wesley receives emotional support from Amy Chen, who reminds him that their fight is not just scientific but deeply personal. They acknowledge the risks involved, but their commitment remains unwavering. The looming countdown to canopy retraction, a critical moment signaling the peak danger, adds urgency. Parallel to the lab efforts, viewers glimpse the emotional toll on families like Wesley's. Emma's innocence and resilience stand in contrast to the harshness outside. The story stresses human connection, survival instincts, and the desperation of loved ones trying to shield each other in the face of apocalypse. Despite the risks, several volunteers have stepped forward to test the moonscreen under extreme conditions. The mood is tense, many doubt the formula's effectiveness, and the stress weighs heavily on the team. Dr. James Aranda and his global rapid response team, including molecular biologist Wesley Marshall and behavior expert Amy Chen, prepare for the critical moment when the lab's roof canopy will retract, exposing the test subjects to the supermoon's light. The countdown to canopy retraction is punctuated by warnings and rising anxiety. The test subjects are sprayed with the moonscreen formula and the clock starts to measure how long the protection lasts. Just minutes before exposure, one of the subjects panics, desperate to be released and fearful of the transformation. The scientists assure her the formula will work, but she is consumed by terror and pleads to escape. Sedating her is ruled out to avoid interfering with the experiment. As the canopy retracts, moonlight floods the chamber. Initially, the moonscreen appears effective. Dr. Aranda announces hopeful signs as cellular mitosis stabilizes and no mutations are detected. Blood and tissue samples are rapidly collected for analysis, and the team is cautiously optimistic about their first success. However, the situation quickly deteriorates. Subject 3 begins to show signs of mutation despite the moonscreen's protection. The liquid's stability is now critically tested as the infected subject starts turning violent. Chaos erupts as the team scrambles to spray more formula and contain the outbreak. The canopy mechanism malfunctions, preventing the roof from closing and trapping the team inside with the turning subjects. In the ensuing panic, Dr. Aranda's protective suit is torn and he is exposed to the mutagenic moonlight. Wesley and the team desperately try to tranquilize him as he begins to transform, but the situation grows dire. The lab descends into chaos as the infected threaten everyone's lives. The scientists fight to maintain control, spraying moonscreen and retreating toward emergency exits. As they attempt to escape, the team faces confusion, fear, and mounting casualties. Evan Radcliffe, the seconding command, is critically injured and eventually succumbs despite the team's best efforts to stabilize him. This loss hits the team hard, shattering morale and underscoring the gravity of their situation. Meanwhile, another subject, Miles, transforms fully into a year oneer before their eyes. Despite their hopes, the formula's protective effect is limited in duration and scope, and Miles's mutation signals a grim reality. The fight is far from over. Amy Chen is devastated, realizing that their window of safety is closing rapidly. The remaining team members confront a heartbreaking dilemma: stay and risk being overwhelmed, or flee into a world ruled by the supermoon's deadly influence. Wesley argues against waiting for rescue, knowing that the creatures outside will not allow it. They agree to arm themselves, realizing that the moon screen alone will not ensure survival. They need weapons and a solid plan to face the horrors waiting beyond the lab's walls. Wes, a CDC scientist, is desperate to reunite with his family and keep them safe amid the growing danger. Communication with his wife Lucy reveals the dire situation. The wolves have breached their home area and neighbors are being attacked. Lucy is terrified, especially when another survivor, Reagan, appears outside the gate begging for help, claiming her mother has been killed. Despite her pleas, Lucy is reluctant to open the door, fearing Reagan might have turned into one of the wolves. Wes plans to come to her aid, but the tension between fear and hope runs high. Wes wrestles with survivors' guilt and anger, blaming himself and others like Sean, who left them alone to face this nightmare. He vows to protect his family and the few remaining allies with everything he has. The group must move quickly, avoiding the wolves prowling the streets. Wes instructs the others, including his niece Emma, to stay calm and silent in their hiding places, emphasizing the necessity of discipline and courage to survive. The survivors debate their next move. Wes argues against fleeing blindly, explaining that small groups of wolves can be evaded by running, but larger packs must be confronted head-on. Stand your ground or die. They decide to maneuver carefully through the city, using parked cars as cover, aiming to reach safer ground via tunnels beneath a marketplace. However, tensions rise when hostile locals threaten to shoot them, suspicious of outsiders in this lawless new world. Wes and Amy manage to convince the locals they are scientists working on a cure, but the fragile truce is under constant threat. The formula's protection is waning. Its effect on the subjects is limited to roughly an hour, forcing the group to keep moving and reapplying it whenever possible. They seek shelter to reapply the formula and regroup, aware that exposure to the moonlight, even briefly, could be fatal. Throughout the night, Wes reflects on the stark contrast between the magical idea of a full moon and the horrifying reality they now face. The world they knew is gone. He confesses his own fears and doubts, lamenting how the crisis has forced him to confront responsibilities he never wanted, caring for family, fighting for survival. Tensions escalate as the group fights off wolf attacks near their shelter. Amid the chaos, emotional moments emerge. Wes consoles Emma, encouraging her bravery and strength despite the terrifying ordeal. The survivors bond through shared trauma and the will to survive. As dawn approaches, the group faces their most harrowing test. The wolves close in on their refuge, forcing Wes to organize a desperate defense. They use every weapon and strategy they have to hold the line, but casualties and injuries take their toll. Wes confronts painful decisions about who to trust and how to keep the children safe amid the carnage. In a poignant moment, Wes implores Emma to promise to be brave and strong like her father, instilling hope that even in this nightmare, courage and love can endure. But as the wolves breach their defenses, Wes himself begins to waver, haunted by memories of family lost and the terrifying possibility of turning into one of the creatures. In a final emotional plea, Wes's brother Sean calls out to him, reminding him of their shared past, their family bonds, and the love waiting for him. This moment underscores the deep human cost of the catastrophe and the battle, not just for survival but for the preservation of humanity and hope. The story ends on a tense cliffhanger, with Wes caught between fighting the monsters outside and the darkness growing within himself. The survivors must find a way to reclaim their world or be consumed by the relentless horror unleashed by the supermoon. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.